Great effort there by McKinnon to help the Vikings take down the Packers on Sunday, and now Minnesota, the new FPI favorite to win the NFC North. But it clearly didn't start that way. With Sam Bradford missing time early on, the chance of the division title dipped below 25%. However, Vikings have managed to stay above 500 in that span, beating the Packers, as we mentioned last week, after Aaron Rodgers went down with that broken collarbone. And joining us now, fresh off that win over the Packers, is Vikings running back Jerick McKinnon. 2 touchdowns in that game, Jerick, so props on that. But let me ask you this. Now that you guys sit atop the division tied with the Packers, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's the best team in that division?
There's no need to, sit here and say who's better and go from there. But, I know the guys that we have on this team and the character guys that we have. So, it's all about getting better week to week and, coming out here and doing whatever it takes to get wins.
Yeah, but I know you pay attention to social media a little bit. I know you watch SportsCenter a little bit too. And we've been saying that now that Aaron Rodgers is down, that division is wide open and the Vikings look like the favorite. I have a feeling, Jerick, in that locker room, you guys may agree with us. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. We know that we have a good team. We know we have good guys. But at the same time, the NFL is week to week. And, any team can be beaten on any Sunday. So, we just know we have to prepare well. And come out here, win games, and, continue to grow.
Yeah, and that's smart because you're absolutely right. The week can change. We don't know who's going to be good 3 weeks from now. But right now, you guys do sit there. And we mentioned injuries relative to Aaron Rodgers, but you guys have had your own injuries to deal with as well with Sam Bradford, of course, Dalvin Cook, the most notable. But how have you guys withstood those injuries, Jerick, to maintain this pace and win 4 your first 6 games?
I think it's just, the mentality of next man up. We have a lot of depth on our roster, and we believe in anybody who's called upon, and I think we all support each other really well, and I think it's been able to show and lead to some success that we've had.
Well, you've definitely had a lot of success recently, and with Dalvin Cook going down, that gave you more opportunities to showcase your skills. So with that being said, how do you feel your role will impact the Vikings' chances of making the playoffs this year?
I'm just trying to, take advantage of the opportunities given to me by the coaches and, do whatever it takes in my willpower to try to, make plays when I'm out there to affect the game and go from there. So, it's a long season still left. And, I think, we got a good thing going and we just got to hold on to it and continue, like I said before, to grow and find a way to win more ball games.
Fighting for opportunities is something you've done your entire career. Coming out of high school, you were not one of the more highly recruited running backs there out of Atlanta. You played quarterback as well. You go to Georgia Southern, which is not a premier program, and you have to fight for your reps here in the NFL. How has that history of fighting for those opportunities helped you where you are at this point right now?
I think it's just giving me a chip on my shoulder. And, I come to work every day to get better, whether it's in the film room, whether it's on the field, taking care of my body in the weight room. So, for me, it's just all about proving myself, proving that I belong in this league and that, I can make things happen.
A couple weeks ago, we had Alvin Kamara on the show here. And, of course, he's also from the Atlanta area, plays for the Saints right now. And you look at your stats head to head, you've got him in touchdowns and total yards. He's got you in yards per carry. So I'm putting you on the spot again. Who's the best running back in the league right now from the A?
Are you trying to do it to me like that?
Come on, man.
I'm not going to sit here and say, I don't need to sit here and say, I'm better than the next guy. I know the tools that I have. I know the tools that I work on, that I come to work on and get better each and every day. And, when it's all said and done, I'll leave that up to everybody else.
Hey, Jerick, appreciate the time here on SportsCenter. Continued success. Got a big game coming up Sunday against the Ravens. Again, Vikings sitting atop the NFC North. Thanks, man.
Thank you for having me.
To get to today, including the NFL owners and players meeting in New York City, discussing, among other things, how the two together can advance the social issues players have been protesting about. Now, these are the regularly scheduled fall meetings of the owners, but last week, as you see Robert Kraft arriving, Commissioner Goodell released a statement asking for players to attend the meeting in New York in the wake of the uproar over the anthem protests that had become a political football, for lack of a better term, with reactions coming in from the White House. So for more on today's developments, let us bring in ESPN insider Adam Schefter. We'll get to New York City in just a minute. But Adam, what can you tell us about what you're hearing about what the owners are talking about, as well as what the players are trying to accomplish on the invite of Commissioner Goodell?
Trey, both sides recognize the importance of today and tomorrow's meetings in Lower Manhattan at the Conrad Hotel. They recognize that they are at a critical moment in NFL history. The owners have been feeling an awful lot of pressure. Merchandise sales are way down, TV ratings are dropping, and teams are being flooded with letters of complaint from people who are being turned off to the sport. At the same time, players are frustrated with the social issues that are occurring in society today, and they want to use their voices. So today, we see a number of players at these meetings today. We saw the league release the list of players in attendance. Guys like Anquan Boldin, Chris Long, Malcolm Jenkins, Kelvin Beachum, many of the same names that were in the commissioner's conference room about 2 or 3 weeks ago to go over these issues. Already Roger Goodell and Doug Baldwin have penned a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee to see if they could help with some of this reform to try to push it along. And these meetings will go on throughout the course of today and tomorrow, and both sides are hoping to enact change, Trey.
All right, Adam, stay right there. We'll get back to you in a minute. But as we said, we have people standing by in New York City. Our Sal Palantonio is there, along with ESPN insiders Jim Trotter and Dan Graziano. Sal, let's start with you and Jim. You two are with the owners. What are you hearing about what the owners have been trying to do and what they're saying?
Well, Trey, up in Park Avenue, the owners are still meeting with the players, with Roger Goodell, Jim, and it is an historic meeting because DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the NFLPA, is also in the meeting. And what I was just told by a senior NFL official is they are trying to find some kind of common ground in this meeting. The meeting's still going on. It's more than 3 hours old at this point. They're trying to find some common ground where they can agree that the anthem protests will stop, but the players will be mollified. What kinds of things are you hearing that they're talking about?
Well, today was a big day because late last night, the league put out a joint letter from the commissioner and Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin that said the league will support criminal justice reform. That's big. Players have been seeking that. Malcolm Jenkins, Anquan Boldin were down on Capitol Hill twice last year fighting for criminal justice reform. That's big. Also, the league has committed to financially bankroll a social activism boot camp down at Morehouse College in February. That will provide players with information on how to get their message out and be most effective. Also, the players are hoping the owners will use their influence to set up meetings with government officials, both state and local. Also, they would like for the league to do public service announcements about some of these issues they're concerned with, and those would air both in the stadium and out of the stadium. And lastly, they would like to get a financial commitment from the league to go forward with some of these programs.
And the bottom line, Jim, is what we're hearing from the league is they want to get some kind of consensus that they can take to the ownership here at the Conrad Hotel. The meetings of the owners have not begun here. They're still waiting for the meeting between the players and Roger Goodell and DeMaurice Smith to finish in Park Avenue. What I'm also hearing is that the league has not been asked to change the language in the game operations manual to say that NFL players will be forced to stand for the anthem. They haven't been asked to do that, and they have no appetite to do that at this point.
No, correct. I've talked to multiple owners who have told me this is not the time to do that. They said maybe in the offseason you revisit it. And look, we need to be clear here. We've focused a lot on Jerry Jones and his comments and making his players stand. But there are more owners, as I talk to them, who feel the opposite of Jerry Jones from the standpoint of trying to mandate that these players must stand.
What has been the reaction to what Jerry Jones did?
Owners are angry, other owners, because they felt this situation was dying down. And when Jerry Jones put his players in a corner by saying they must stand, it inflamed the situation and it made it worse. And now they're at a point where these owners are saying to me, we want to find common ground with these players. We want to move forward. We want to get past all of this and get back to football. And the fact that the league came out, because think about this. If you were talking about professional sports and you said which owners would be the first to come out in support of criminal justice reform, I think most people would have said the NFL owners would have been last. They've stepped out on a limb here, and players see that, so that's a positive first step, as well as I said, the boot camp that they're going to have down at Morehouse College in February. So these are positive, and what one owner said to me last night is, look, this has to be authentic. This can't be a bartering session where we'll give you this if you do this. It has to be something where it's seen that both sides agree this is a positive for both the players and the league.
Yeah, and the league official just told me it's a non-starter to change the
Correct.
language in the game operations manual. It's something that Roger Goodell will not go for at all. So they're not even going down that road. But the bottom line is the fact that they're still talking
Correct.
up in the league office is a good thing, I was told. The dialogue is open, and they want to reach some kind of common ground before everybody gets down here for the full meeting at the Conrad Hotel. Trey.
All right, Jim and Sal, thanks very much. By the way, we're just being told that meeting has just ended. And when we have a chance, we'll have our Dan Graziano, who's been with the players all day. Sal and Jim, thanks so much. Meanwhile, there's another big off-the-field story happening today. Attorneys for Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott are having an emergency hearing in federal court as they try to stop the running back's 6-game suspension over domestic violence allegations. Last year's NFL leading rusher is supposed to be suspended starting Sunday's game at San Francisco. Remember, the Cowboys had a bye this past week, and if the suspension holds, the 6 games would start this Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. So for more on this, as promised, we go back to ESPN insider Adam Schefter. Adam, what more can you tell us about what's going on in that hearing?
Well, Trey, this is complex. It's legal. There continue to be steps involved in the Ezekiel Elliott case that everybody's trying to get a handle on. And where we're at right now, basically, is that the Fifth Circuit denied the NFL's PA's motion to recall the mandate. What this means essentially is they have passed the case on jurisdiction. It's now down to merits only. That the judge in the Southern District Court of New York is expected to make a ruling today. That will be the big decision that will determine whether Ezekiel Elliott has to serve the 6-game suspension now or whether it can be put off. As it was described to me in football terms, basically the decision from the Fifth Circuit Court made it so this went from 3rd down to 4th down, and now it's 4th and 5 for Ezekiel Elliott here in this particular case as they wait for an answer. But again, to emphasize, as it was described to me, this case was overturned on jurisdiction only, not merits. So this is all about merits today when the judge in New York makes the decision. And it doesn't sound like the judge that Ezekiel Elliott drew in this particular case is particularly favorable to him, but we will await the judge's ruling at some point later today that will determine whether or not Ezekiel Elliott has to sit 6 games immediately.
All right, Adam, thanks. And when that news breaks, we will have it for you here on NFL Live. Lewis, Ryan, it seems like, and Cowboy players or some people around the organization have alluded to the fact that this sort of looming suspension over Ezekiel Elliott has affected the way he's played. But from a team perspective, Lewis, how do you think it's affected the team in general? It seems like every week they're saying, is our guy going to be there? Is he not going to be there? What should we be expecting out of our guy?
Yeah, Trey, I can see where it would have some kind of effect in the sense that players have to answer the questions all the time, right? But I'm of the belief that at the running back position, with this offensive line, with some of the people that they have in this locker room that can take up some of the load and carry some of the load for him while he would be gone, I don't see it as being one of those things where teammates all of a sudden go in the football game saying we're at a serious disadvantage to the point where we can't compete anymore. If this would have been Dak Prescott, if it would have been a quarterback, I think it would be much, much different. I'm not saying it's something they can just blow off and it's a non-issue, but I don't believe it's something where that the players are mentally being affected in a negative way to the point where their performance is being affected. I just wouldn't see it as that. And if I was in a locker room right now and had been on a team where one of our key running back had been taken out of the game, I don't think it would have affected me like that. If it would have been the quarterback, it'd be totally different because we know what the importance level there is. But I think this is more of a nuisance than it is something that really affects players. Coaches, that may be a little bit different because they tend to overthink things and kind of shoot too far trying to make up for something like this.
Well, from a player's perspective, Ryan, let's assume that they have to go with Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden. How does that change, if any, how the Cowboys attack teams offensively?
It's going to change how teams attack the Dallas Cowboys, how teams prepare to play defense against this team. The other side of it is they have confidence in Alfred Morris. They'll have confidence in Darren McFadden. And what Lou said is the running back position is different. We've seen people excel without not necessarily having the pedigree of being the 4th pick of the draft or being NFL's leading rusher the year before. And so I think they'll be fine in the sense of how it actually plays out on the field. What I do think is difficult, Trey, is 1 week he's suspended, the next week he's not.
Right.
Now we're fighting to extend it. If I was a player, and you never want to see a guy miss time, but I am of the belief that Ezekiel Elliott is missing time, whether it's today, whether it's next week or next year, he is going to serve a suspension. If I was a player, I would be ready to get it over with. If he's going to serve this time, if he's going to serve this suspension, let's get it done. Let's get it over with so we can move on as a team. So it's not a topic each and every week for coaches, for the GM and the owner, and for the players. Let's get it over with. Let's find ways to win games until we get him back and then move forward as a team from there.
Well, that's the point. Look, whether we're not dealing with whether or not he's guilty of these crimes. That's something that the legal system and everything else has to deal with. We're talking strictly, just so people understand, how it affects a football team. Because all of you are creatures of habit. Whether you're coaches, whether you're general managers, whether you're players. Everybody wants to know, what is our situation? How is it this week? What are we doing forward? And this sort of uncertainty has been the big thing that sort of hung over this team, right?
I think the further you get away from the field, though, Trey, the more it affects you because you can't really do anything to affect the outcome of games once they start being played. So general managers, scouts, coaches, fans will sit there and go, well, we don't really know what this is going to look like on the field now. So you worry about it. You talk about it. You talk about it. You look at the schedule. Can we win that game without him? Can we win that game without him? How would this affect? Players get out on the football field, and I'm telling you what, it's just a number now. It's just, look, if Alfred Morris is back there or Darren's back there, outside zone's still supposed to look the same. So run it the same, block it the same, and players just kind of block that stuff out. I mean, it's funny, it's been a long time, but I can think back to those days and remember, like, you miss your boys. And you know who your number ones are. But when the games start, it's like, he's not here.
We got to go win.
We got to play.
Yeah, right. Well, again, we'll see if that's the situation or whether or not the suspension will be enacted or whether or not it will he'll get a reprieve temporarily, according to Ryan, one way or the other. Again, if it starts, it would start this Sunday in San Francisco.